Hey guys, Drew with Because Jitsu here today. We're going to be going over an interesting concept or linchpin in Jiu-Jitsu that you may not realize is there, and it kind of changes a lot of different situations when you know it is, both from a defensive use of it as well as an offensive taking away of it. And what I'm talking about is posting on the elbow. It doesn't sound like a lot when you say it, but we're going to show you a bunch of different scenarios where you may use it already and not realize why it's there or why you're doing it, or you may not use it and get some real use out of this little tiny detail that will, like I said, pop up in all sorts of different situations. And I know it's definitely changed the way that I look at some situations to my benefit, both as the person trying to use it as well as taking it away from the person who is using it. So let's get into some examples. To begin with here, we're going to start with how to use it to keep your guard mobile. So this can be from a closed guard, an open guard, half guard, any situation where your back is on the ground and you don't want it to be for whatever reason. So one thing that we went over in the guard retention video, and I'll throw a link in here for that if you haven't seen it, is getting up on your elbow is how you stay mobile when you're on bottom. So that's a big concept in and of itself. And by mobile, I mean if my back's on the ground, this is basically where I sit. This is my 1 meter square where I'm going to do all my work right here. And they're going to be able to move around and I'm not, as long as my back's on the ground. So being able to come up on an elbow here is going to allow me to move backwards, to move sideways, to move my hips out of this position into another one. So for example, maybe I'm just not getting anywhere trying to beat him from closed guard. He's keeping my hips framed. He's not allowing me to come up. He's just stagnating me in this position. I want out. I'm going to use one hand for framing against him, and I'm going to put this other one sort of parallel to my body. I don't want to come out here for this. I'm going to come pretty parallel to my body and just rock up onto my elbow like this. Okay? It's a very efficient movement. The reason I don't want to bring it out here like this is when I try to bring it in here, it puts stress on my deltoid. If you have a weak shoulder or if they're pressuring into you while you do this, it can actually really tweak your shoulder. So I prefer to have it semi-parallel to your body here or just come up straight like that in a straight line. Once I get here and I have a frame in place to keep him back for a moment, I can open my guard and now I can utilize this to move myself. Separating into a seated guard situation, I can come right standing and try to take the top. It's actually a surprisingly powerful mechanic when it comes to separating from a bottom guard situation. One of the most useful spots that you'll find it from, both top and bottom, is from half guard. Because in half guard, unlike in full guard, where I'm okay to have my shoulders on the mat depending what I'm going for, in half guard, you never want to have both shoulders on the mat. So you always want to be up on one shoulder and your side facing towards your opponent. And there's basically two directions you can go from half guard. There's offensive as well as sweeping options. If I can get really deep and get underneath my opponent here, burying my head, going for sweeps. There's toe holds. There's a few little tricks you can do from underneath there. That's a good offensive half guard. Or the opposite is coming back like this, framing away. And now here, like we were talking about, we showed in closed guard, is I can basically do a safety stand-up or a technical stand-up where I put my foot on the ground and bring this one out. You can come to dogfight situations here where you're going to fight for top position, back position, turtle, that sort of thing. Or you can just fully disengage. So I've decided that my options aren't to try to use this as an attacking half guard, but I need to get up on my shoulder, on my elbow, before I have the option to disengage. If I just try to do this and back away, they're just going to follow me, they're going to smash me. I need to frame here, come up, and now I've got the option to unhook my half guard, frame away, and pull back. Okay, to separate and change that scenario altogether. You can pull into a full guard, you can stand up and try to take the top. It basically resets the board. So that's all of why I would want to use this arm from the bottom. You'll find when you're the person on top, you got your opponent down here trying to frame and make that escape or change that position. You have to take this seriously. If you can knock this frame out, it's going to reset them back to where they didn't want to be, which is good for you. So you want to use this arm and grab the sleeve and you just got to pull it straight back. It's going to knock me back down. Best case scenario, you're able to put both my shoulders on the mat and start dominating half guard, start passing, maybe switch your hips. Lots of good options once I'm not up on my elbow here. So again, if your opponent comes up like this, you've got to knock that out and pull like this. Okay? Super important. Now, this one is a really interesting situation where you get to either utilize or take away that posting on the elbow. When you're the person that is escaping the back, there's all sorts of ways to do it, but one of the ways is to try to turn belly to belly with your opponent. And one way to do that is by taking baseball bat control 2-on-1 on the choking arm, getting it over on the safe side here, dropping, getting your shoulders to the mat. If he can get his shoulders to the mat, that's great. I'm off his back, but he still wants to turn up into me. Okay, to do that, he has to put that near arm down on the elbow to turn in. He has to. He won't be able to turn into me if he doesn't do that. So he will be able to take the top, going into a closed guard. Maybe he can pass the guard in the process, but very least, he's escaped the back. That's good for him. Now, from my point of view, holding the back, if I'm getting deconstructed here where he's got his shoulders to the mat, and I see this elbow coming down, I have to understand if he can get up on his elbow, I've lost everything. So I'm going to take the effort to find that elbow first and pull it straight up. If I pull this towards the sky, now if Alvin tries to come up into me, there is no way that he comes up to the top and allows me the opportunity to come up to my elbow and come up and take him out, which is a whole lot better than getting turned back into my closed guard. So again, he passed my arm, starting to get his shoulders to the mat and turn in. I'm going to take that arm and pull it up. Okay, there's no way he's going to turn into me anymore. I block that path for as long as I need to come here and take the mount. Super, super important detail. All right, so hopefully that's a brief little overview of how to use that posting elbow and why it's useful, why it's important to have that frame from the bottom, and equally as important to take that frame away when you're attacking on top. So keep your eyes out when you're rolling for where this pops up, and the more you can see it and understand why it's there, the more use you'll be able to get out of it. So I hope that helps, guys. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments section, any suggestions for future videos. Make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.